Okay guys, so in this video I'm going to dismantle the sentence into specific pieces, specific chunks, so that we can understand how sentences are structured. Why we do that? Because if you understand how to dismantle the sentence into different clauses and phrases and different pieces, you will be able to analyze the sentence and you will be able to spot the mistakes in them. Okay, so let's do that. So dismantling, it means separating them into possible pieces, right? I mean, we can separate them into words, but they're not going to help us too much when we do the exam. But if we can separate them into the possible pieces or specific chunks, then that's going to help us to do the questions well. Right, so let's get started. As you can see here, I have extracted this question from an SAT test. It's a tense related question. I mean, look, I'm going to solve it. It's very clear. It's a tense related question, and the answer is going to be B, claim, because we need verb here, verb, and claiming or to claim, they are not, they're just the verb forms. They're not tense. A and D is out. Having claimed, this is also phrase. We don't have a tense form like that. So only B is acceptable because that's a present simple. So let's complete, let's complete the sentence first. I'm going to copy and paste this word. I'm going to put it there. Okay, so the sentence is complete. Some historians claim that this tulip mania was the first historical and whatever. Now, the rest I'm going to remove that, right? So because I am dismantling the sentence, so I'm analyzing the sentence, I don't need this question side of it, so I'm just going to remove them. Okay, so that's gone. And I mean, I don't need this number of the question as well, because we're making kind of operation. Yeah, you can imagine that I'm a doctor operating a sentence. I am dismantling into separate pieces. So we got this sentence left now. And what we can do is I'm going to take this sentence in the middle of, let's say, like operating table. Okay, we're going to put it here. There you go. It's the middle of it. That's good. All right. In 1637, and there's a comma here. So this is phrase. That is phrase, guys. Okay, so I'm just going to put it here. That's it. In 67, the price of tulips skyrocketed in Amsterdam. And then there's a comma here. I'm going to take them. Okay, so we're operating that. So we're just going to separate. And actually, this side is a phrase, guys. So we have to separate that because there's a comma. So with single bulbs varieties, this is separate. I'm just going to, separate it from the main independent clause. Okay, I've did that. Then I've got here, the price of tulips skyrocketed in Amsterdam. Right, so I'm just gonna decide, guys. Okay, so I'm just gonna put it here. That's it. Now I've got two pieces separate. The first one is phrase, right? The second one is price of tulips skyrocketed in Amsterdam. That is independent clause. Okay, so this one is phrase. I'm going to write here phrase. Okay, and this one is the price of tulips skyrocketed in Amsterdam. I'm going to write here IC. IC, it means independent clause, guys. Independent clause. Okay, now we're going to carry on operating that with single bulbs of rare varieties selling for up to the equivalent of $200 in today's US dollars. So this is phrase, or the like modifier, I would say, giving some extra information about the price and about the tulips. Okay, so let's do that. So I'm just going to separate them now. All right, let's do that. So we're going to take this. Okay, now till here. I'll bring it down here. It's a new sentence. Yeah. Okay, so with single, we're going to put it here, guys. Okay, so with single bulbs of rare varieties selling for up to equivalent of 200 or the $200,000 in today's dollars, yeah. So this one is phrase, we call it. Why phrase? Because there is no subject and verb relationship here. I mean, independent clause. Why we call it clause? Because here the price is subject, the price is subject, and then skyrocketed is verb. So we got here subject and verb relationship, and this is independent clause because there are no any subordinating conjunctions attached to them, and they can stand alone. Like the price of tulips skyrocketed in Amsterdam, it carries a complete meaning. That's why we call this independent clause, guys. Okay, so now we got here with single bulbs of rare varieties selling for up to the equivalent of $200 in today's US dollars. Now we got full stop here. That means the rest of it is new sentence. So now I'm gonna operate the second sentence now. Okay, that's it. All right. Now, some historians claim that some historians claim that this tulip mania was the first historical instance of an asset bubble which occurs when investors drive prices to highs not supported by actual demand. Okay, now we got some subordinating conjunctions, or we say dependent clause connectors, which I am going to highlight it for you guys. So the first one is, okay, so I'm going to highlight that. So we got here that is a connector, connected, so dependent clause connector. That means we have got a dependent clause starting here. And then there is another one, which is which, okay, which occurs. So which also here, connector, okay. So which occurs when we got another connector here. So we're going to select that one as well. Okay, guys. So now we got here three connectors, dependent clause connectors, or subordinating conjunctions. That means we have got here three dependent clauses. Okay. Now I'm going to separate them now. The first of all, some historians claim something. So some historians claim something. So here, claim something. So in place of something, we are using that this tulip mania was the first historical instance of an asset bubble. Some historians claim something. The something is object, which is noun, But in place of noun, as you can see, all of it, we are using clauses. This is all is coming in place of something. So this one we call them noun clause. Okay. Now I'm going to separate the dependent clause itself now. There you go. So I'm going to put it here. Okay. Some historians claim, and now we got here noun clause. You see, inside noun clause we got other clauses, dependent clauses inserted. Okay, so I'm going to separate them. Right. Okay. Okay, now we're going to remove, we're going to separate which. Oh, now we separated that, and now we need to separate adjective clause now. Okay, guys, so now we've got two of them separate. The first one is independent clause. Obviously, I'm going to write here IC, some historians claim, right? What are the subjects? So some historians, subject, claim is verb. So it's independent clause. And that this tulip was the first historical instance of an asset bubble. This is noun clause. Okay. And obviously noun clause is dependent clause, the type of dependent clause. Right? Now which occurs itself is a dependent clause, and the type of it is adjective clause, which occurs. So this is separate, and we're going to put it here a little bit. All right, we're going to put it there first. There you go. And then we're going to separate which occurs. Okay, so that's a which occurs, that's adjective clause. And then whatever we got left here is another dependent clause, and that is adverb clause, guys. When the connect the when, if, as soon as, even though, although, they are all adverb clauses, guys. So as you can see here, we got like three chunks, big chunks, right? The first one is, this is independent clause. And then now we got here noun clause, right? Noun clause. And then we got here adjective clause. So we can write like adjective clause. And then we got here adverb clause, guys. Adverb clauses. You see? Adverb clauses. Right. Now, I just want to show you the subjects for noun clause. So that this tulip mania. So this tulip mania, so tulip or mania, actually, tulip mania is the subject, was is the verb, which occurs here, connector itself is subject, occurs is the verb. When investors here is subject, uh, when investors drive prices, drive here is verb, guys. Okay, now we've separated them into separate pieces. So now we can bring some order to them, right? Now I'm going to put here, so it's here. I'm going to put it at the very beginning. There you go. And then I'm going to bring the price of tulips rocketed. I'm going to put it here. Okay, in Amsterdam. Okay, so the price of tulips rocketed in Amsterdam with single bulbs. So I'm going to put this maybe here, of rare varieties selling. So I'm going to put it here together. Okay, you see what I'm trying to say is that, like, if you put these sentences in one line, it will be much easier to understand. But in SAT or in ACT, they are put in a very small area with, line by line, and that complicates the things. But in your mind, you should be able to dismantle them in a way that I'm showing it to you. Like in the exam, you're not going to do this, but in the exam, your mind should dismantle or should operate, should put the sentences in, on the operating table and dismantle them, or, break them into small pieces. What is what? What is what? And what the, what kind of function they do, and everything should happen fast. And when you do this again and again, that will get really faster. Okay, so I'm just trying to show you how your mind should work in exam. So some historians claim, and then that, I'm going to put this here. Okay, claim that. Okay, acid bubble. And now we have which occurs. So you see, like, we brought them into a proper order now, and, it's something easier to understand now, I believe. So in 1637, the price of tulips skyrocketed in Amsterdam, with single bulbs of rare varieties selling for up to the equivalent of $200,000 in today's US dollars. Okay, that's the first sentence. Some historians claim that this tulip mania was the first historical instance of an acid bubble, which occurs when investors drive prices to highs not supported by actual demand. Okay, so now, first of all, I'm going to show you the independent clauses here. Independent clauses. So the first one is here, independent clause. The price of tulips skyrocketed in Amsterdam. This is the independent clause, guys. Okay, maybe I should change the color. Okay, so this is the independent clause. The price of tulips skyrocketed in Amsterdam. Why independent clause? Well, technically approaching, it doesn't have any, it's not attached to any dependent clause connector or subordinating conjunctions like if, when, before, although, as soon as, before, after, and other ones, right? Like while, whereas. There are so many of them. So it's not attached to that. So it's just like separate, proper, complete sentence. Okay. Now with single bulbs of rare varieties, they're not independent clause. There's another independent clause is here. Some historians claim something. They claim something. Okay. So we've got here two independent clauses, guys. Okay. So I'm going to write down as I see, and then this is also I see, independent clause. Okay. Now I'm going to show you the dependent clause. And dependent clause, as I said, we can identify them through the connectors. They are attached to connectors. And dependent clause, they start after the connector. So we've got that. That means this tulip mania was the first historical instance of an acid bubble. That is dependent clause. And this is also like in right. Another piece of information here. As you can see here, that connector is not a subject. The subject here, tulip mania, is the subject. Was is the verb. But if you look at this clause, which occurs here, which is coming as subject, and occurs is the verb. So sometimes that, which, they can come sometimes as subject or sometimes not. Okay, so we have to check. For example, here, was is the verb, and before verb we've got noun, tulip mania, so it's subject. So that means here that is only connector. But here in the second clause, we got here occurs is verb, and which obviously now is coming as subject, guys. All right, so let me just remove some extra lines here. Okay, all right. So we got here subject and verbs I've highlighted, and then I'm going to, when investors, so there's another subject, drive is verb. So let's give some numbers. So this is dependent clause subject 1, and that is verb dependent clause verb 1, and this one is dependent clause subject 2, the second dependent clause, and that's verb 2, and this is subject 3, and that is verb 3, guys. Okay. Subject, only nouns or pronouns can come as subject, and most of the time they come before verb. In positive sentences, they come before verb. In some cases, like inverted cases or inversion, I don't know if you have studied in grammar, in inversion verb comes before subject, but here mostly the noun before subject is verb. So noun or pronoun, right? So now here, now we're going to identify the subject of independent clauses. Price is here subject 1, and then skyrocketed is verb. Maybe I should make a different color. So here price is subject 1, and then skyrocketed is verb 1. And then here some historians, this is subject 2, claim is verb 2. Okay, now why I'm giving subject 1 as well, because this is independent clause now, guys. Yeah, independent clause subject 1, but here subject 1, this is dependent clause. All right, so this is a dependent clause subject 1, and this one is independent clause subject 1. All right, okay. Now there's something called prepositional phrase I would like to show you, and this prepositional phrase, they can never ever be subject. They cannot be subject, guys. Yeah. So prepositional phrase, obviously, preposition. So when you got preposition, I'm gonna write like preposition. Okay. Preposition plus noun. So here you might have adjectives, or you might have adverbs if you want. I mean, it can come, but as long as it starts with preposition and ends with noun, that is, we call them prepositional phrase. Okay, so we're going to identify them. So the first one, it's here, of tulips. You see, of tulips. So here, because a lot of students, they think that tulips they think is a subject. Tulips they think is a subject, but they are not. You have to be careful. Tulips is part of prepositional phrase because of tulips, guys. So the price is the subject. Okay. Now we got another prepositional phrase which is here in Amsterdam. You see, in Amsterdam. So we should understand that prepositional phrases, they can never come as subject with single bulbs. That is prepositional phrase of rare varieties. Prepositional phrase selling for up to the equivalent. So up to the equivalent of 200,000 in today's US dollars. You see? So we've got prepositional phrases now. I'm showing it to you. Selling for up to. So that is also all of them prepositional phrase for up to this. Okay. Now we've got more here. Tulip mania was the first historical instance of an asset bubble. This is prepositional phrase, which occurs when investors drive price to highs not supported by actual demand. So these yellow colors that I've highlighted, we call them, guys, this is prepositional phrases, and they cannot come because these prepositional phrases, they have got nouns. Okay, for example, this is noun, demand, right? Or highs, this is noun, bubble, dollars, single bulbs. They are noun, but they don't come as subjects. They can't because they are attached to the prepositional phrase, guys. Okay, so they come, or they do the function of adverbs, adverbial phrase, we can say. Okay, so don't forget that prepositional phrase, they can never come as subject. Because, for example, here, this is very risky position. A lot of students, they take tulips as subject. They take tulips as subject. That is wrong. Okay, so this guy here is, we call them introductory phrase because it's introducing in 1637. Or in other words, we can say adverbial phrase because it's time, it's showing the time. Adverbial phrase. So in any case, that is phrase, guys. And why we call them phrase? Because there is no subject and verb relationship in that, part, in that structure. Okay, so that's it. Now, as you can see here, we have dismantled the sentences into many pieces, right? So here, again, I'm going to remove maybe extra things to clear it out. Okay, here you go. So this is the first part. And then we've got here second part. Then with single bulbs of rare varieties, selling for up to this. Some historians claim that was the first historical bubble, which occurs when demand. So how many clauses do we have here? How many clauses we got? We have got here, so I'm just gonna put the arrows for the clauses now. Clauses. Clauses, it means subject and verb relationship. This is the clause. There is the clause. This is the clause. This is the clause, and this is the clause. So they are clauses. But now we have to divide them into dependent clause and independent clause. So we got like 5 clauses, but 2 independent clauses. Okay, we got 5 clauses, 2 independent clauses. So here, as I said, this is independent clause. These 2, they are independent clauses, guys. But the other ones, for example, these 3 of them, they are dependent clauses. Again, so here we got 5 clauses, red circled ones, they are independent clauses, and green circled ones, they are dependent clauses. Again, how do we know it? From their connectors here, that, which, when. Okay, so I'm gonna stop, and that's enough. If you got any more questions, please leave your comments on the comment section, and then I will try to answer them as much as I can. Any topics that you don't understand and you would like me to explain in my videos, please leave your comments and messages and questions in the comment section, and I will check them and I will do my the videos according to your request. Okay, so that's enough. Thanks for your time, and I'll see you in the next videos. All right, take care.